Should you enter retirement with a mortgage? You know what? I'm going to give you my answer right now. I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video like everyone else does. Yes, in most cases, I believe you should enter retirement mortgage-free. Now, I know that goes against pretty much everything you read online. Most financial planners, other financial professionals, articles you find on Google, ChatGPT answers, pretty much everything tends to say the opposite. But I've been doing this over 25 years and I understand what retirement actually looks like in the real world. Yes, it's kind of like that scene in the great movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield sitting in the economics classroom. The professor is explaining the textbook theory and Rodney stands up and says, "Yeah, but that's not how the real world works."
How about Fantasyland?
That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And here's the interesting part. The financial plan that we're going to run today actually shows that by the age 90, you would have had more money if you kept the mortgage. But what I want to show you is why that might still not be the best decision. Not mathematically, but behaviorally and psychologically. And why most of my clients absolutely love entering retirement mortgage-free. Today, we are going to test that idea using Jerry and Elaine. Yes, that Jerry and Elaine. They finally got married. Apparently, even George didn't see that coming. They're 65 years old, recently retired, living in the city, and they still have a mortgage. Let's see how this plays out. Before we run the numbers, let's be fair and look at both sides. The case for keeping the mortgage. The mortgage payment is about $30,000 per year. Interest rates are relatively low. Your investment portfolio is allocated between 60% stocks and 40% bonds. Expected long-term rates could exceed the mortgage rate. Keeping the mortgage may produce a higher long-term estate value. This is the classic economic classroom answer. If the expected return on investments is higher than the mortgage rate, you keep the loan. The case for paying it off. Now here is the real-world argument. Lower annual spending, lower withdrawal rate, less financial pressure, greater simplicity, better peace of mind. Retirement planning is not about optimizing spreadsheets. It's about reducing fragility and creating a plan that people can actually live with. Now let's build Jerry and Elaine's plan. Jerry and Elaine, both 65, recently retired. They live in a New York City apartment worth about $2.1 million. You can say the apartment is real and it's spectacular.
And by the way, they're real and they're spectacular.
They still have a mortgage balance of $350,000. Remaining term is 12 years. Annual payment, about $30,000 a year. Their investment portfolio. Jerry and Elaine have about $3 million invested. Here's the breakdown. They have a Schwab taxable brokerage account worth $1.3 million. Jerry has a SEP IRA from all of his comedy, self-employed. It's worth about $1 million. And of course, Elaine's J. Peterman Company 401k plan is worth about $700,000. Again, their investment portfolio allocation is approximately 60% stocks and 40% bonds. And the withdrawal order in the plan, which means how we're going to be taking withdrawals to make them the most tax efficient, is we're going to take them from taxable accounts first, then tax deferred, then tax-free accounts. This analysis does not assume Roth conversions. If you would like to see what that analysis looks like, please comment below and we'll run that. Their Social Security strategy. Elaine claims Social Security at full retirement age 67. Her benefit is approximately $2,600 a month. Jerry delays until age 70. His benefit is approximately $4,216 per month. Combined with long-term Social Security, income will be about $81,800 per year once Jerry turns 70. So for the first 5 years of retirement, portfolio withdrawals are higher. Their lifestyle spending is about $150,000 per year. Their annual travel expense is approximately $30,000 a year. The property tax on their apartment is $12,000. They have homeowners insurance of $3,504 a year, a mortgage payment of $29,969. If they keep the mortgage, spending rises to approximately $225,473 per year. If the mortgage is paid off, spending remains approximately less the mortgage, $195,504 per year. That $29,969 difference becomes the core of the analysis. So the first scenario we're going to look at is mortgage-free. In the first scenario, Jerry and Elaine pay off the $350,000 mortgage before retirement. Their investable assets decline to about $2.65 million. Annual spending drops to $195,504. Their withdrawal rate begins lower, and Social Security later helps to reduce the pressure on the portfolio. The plan looks durable. The second scenario is we're entering retirement with a mortgage, which is the more conventional way. In the second scenario, they keep the mortgage. Their investable assets remain at the $3 million. Annual spending increases to $225,473 because of the mortgage payment. Their withdrawal rate is higher during the early years of retirement, but the portfolio remains larger. What do the spreadsheets say? Now let's fast forward to it. By age 90, the projections show the following balances. The plan with the mortgage ends with about $5,439,453. The plan without the mortgage ends with about $5.1 million. So financially on a spreadsheet, keeping the mortgage would be the correct financial decision. The portfolio ends up larger. But another way to look at this is by testing the probability of the plan working from an income standpoint. In other words, if we run the plan through thousands of rolling market scenarios, how often are Jerry and Elaine able to increase their income in retirement, and how often would they potentially have to reduce it? So when we look at the plan with the mortgage, the probability, as you can see here on the screen, shows that in 52% of the rolling scenarios going back 30 years, they were able to increase their income during retirement. On average, their income increased by about 28%, and in some scenarios, they were able to increase their income nearly twofold. But in the other 48% of the scenarios, they actually had to reduce their income. So with the mortgage, 52% of the time their income increased, and 48% of the time income had a decrease. Now, why this matters is because we want to compare it to the scenario where they entered retirement without a mortgage. When we run the analysis, the results are almost identical. Without the mortgage, 51% of the time they were able to increase their income, and 49% of the time they had to decrease it. So there is basically no meaningful difference. Yes, technically there's a 1% advantage in one direction, but the question becomes, is that tiny statistical difference worth the emotional stress of entering retirement knowing you still have to make a mortgage payment on your home? These are exactly the types of conversations we have with our clients. But here is the real question. Is it the correct behavioral and emotional decision? It's about building a plan people feel comfortable with for the next 25 to 30 years. It's also important to understand what these projections assume. The analysis assumes a linear rate of return on a traditional 60-40 academic asset allocation model. Real life does not work this way, it works this way. Markets are volatile, returns arrive unevenly, and sequence of returns in the early years of retirement can dramatically affect outcomes. Financial planning software is an incredibly useful tool, but it's also only a model. In many ways, it becomes inaccurate the second you hit refresh. Could Jerry and Elaine have kept the mortgage? Yes. Would the spreadsheet suggest that decision could work financially? Of course, yes. But retirement planning is not purely mathematical. As we've went over, it is behavioral. And in my experience, entering retirement without debt creates stronger, more resilient plans. Not because the spreadsheet says so, but because real life says so. If you found this analysis helpful, this is exactly the type of work we do with clients every day. Retirement planning is not just about running numbers through software. Anyone can do that. The real value is understanding how those numbers translate into real-life decisions. Decisions about income, spending, taxes, investments, and most importantly, confidence in retirement. In our retirement planning process, we run multiple scenarios, just like this mortgage versus no mortgage, tax strategies, market stress tests, all of it designed to answer one simple question. Will your plan actually work in the real world? If you're approaching retirement and you want to see what your own retirement blueprint looks like, you can visit the link below to learn more about how we work with clients. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe because we regularly break down real retirement planning questions just like this. Thanks for watching. Until next time.